Hi, everyone. Good evening. How are you doing? Please feel free to use the chat box to ask any questions that you have throughout. This is being recorded so that we can also share it with anyone who would like to re-listen to this later on. So we're going to be talking a lot about Akashic Records and life scripting today. So while I'm going about, feel free to type in your questions so I can help you with that as well. All right? Okay, everyone. So my name is Maria Leonard. If you haven't worked with me or known me before, I go about with the spiritual life coach term, and I'm the founder of Life Scripting, which is a manifestation and healing modality. And it's the only one that combines four principles, which is breath, energy, intuition, and words. So over the past 6 years, we've trained more than 200 individuals across all the levels. And some of them have even completed teacher's training, which is what they choose to do in a form of teaching life scripting for others as well. Now, I want you to understand something very, very important when it comes to Akashic Records. First of all, let's understand the definition. Okay, Akashic Records comes from the word Akash, which is a Sanskrit term. It's not really an English word in any way. And the Akash word is basically the etheric field. It's ether. It's the energy field that you cannot physically touch. However, because it's energy, you can feel it, you can sense it, you can tap into it, and you can be engulfed in that vibrational field. And once you are in that vibrational field, wonderful things, miraculous things, clarity comes in, and healing comes in, of course. So when we are tapping into the Akashic Records, we are not only there because we want to get answers, or we're not only there because we want to tap into past lives. That's not the reason why Akashic Records only or really exists. It's the hub of information of the universe. So when you are being connected to the Akashic Records, you have the ability, you have the power to shift your karma. You have the power to understand your purpose. You have the power to connect to your soul, to ancestors, to future possibilities, to your spirit guides. And along with all of this, you can eliminate, or as we use in life scripting, deactivate any form of negativity that has been in your life for years and years and even generations. So the gift of Akashic Records that exists in the universe is to give us the opportunity that everything can change. Nothing is stagnant. If you are feeling stuck in life, that's not because life is forcing you to be stuck, or life is purposely putting you in that way, or you don't deserve any kind of flow in your life. It's more done from your side that you have unconsciously done. So I don't want you to go and blame yourselves, but you have unconsciously put yourself in a loop. And this is what I call karmic loop. Karmic loop is when you see yourself repeating the same mistakes, feeling the same emotions again and again, and you feel like life is not really moving forward. And this is why you end up feeling stuck. However, this is where Akashic Records comes in and helps you to break free from that limitation, helps you to break free from the loop or the karmic loop that you're stuck in. So if we want to understand why was Akashic Records created, it's part of the dimensional field that exists in the universe. Now remember, this falls under the category of spirituality and esoteric studies. Okay, esoteric studies does not fall under science. However, over the years, people are now slowly trying to create machines that can measure experiences. What makes an information scientific or not? Let's understand that. And so we don't think that this is all airy-fairy woo-woo stuff. When there is a trial that has been put out there over and over again, and we get the same results, this ends up confirming to us that whatever we are practicing, this is concrete, it becomes factual, and it goes under the scientific research and study. Plus, there is some kind of a measuring tool that confirms to us that this is accurate. For example, when someone takes your blood test results and they give you the numbers, we can't say that that's untrue because the machines that were created are being able to pinpoint what is there, right? So the Akashic Records is on an energy field trying to give us all this information so that we're able to understand where we are in our lives, how we can move forward, and how we can evolve. And some of my clients' favorite word is manifest, to really create. Another word that I use instead of manifest is conscious creation. We want to consciously create our lives. So can anyone access Akashic Records? Of course. Is there only one way to access it? Absolutely not. Is this something brand new that has just recently existed? No, it's been there for thousands of years. It's also been mentioned in different holy books, which is called the Book of Life. Now, I get this question a lot in my trainings, which is like, Maria, are we allowed to work with our Akashic? Are we allowed to shift anything? Are we allowed to do anything about it? And this is my answer every single time. First of all, you have free will to work towards what it is that you want to create and heal. So let's remember these two words today. There is healing involved and there is creation involved. So we want to use both of these things every time when we're doing a life scripting or having a life scripting experience, okay? We can't only just create without eliminating or clearing something. Now, when we are accessing our Akashic Records, our intention must be for the highest truth. It must be to bring goodness into our lives. Are we allowed to access somebody else's Akashic Records without them knowing? No. And that is because we are not going to be able to interfere with their free will. However, let's say you believe that someone needs help, but they are ignorant or they don't understand or they maybe not believe in the abilities of the energy world, in the abilities of breath or intuition or the Akash. So what we can do for these individuals, we ask for the permission of the soul, and we end up doing the work by helping them heal. It's similar to, I compare it to like doing a prayer for someone, okay? You don't need to get someone's permission to pray for them, because a prayer is always intended to bring goodness, to bring comfort into someone's life, right? So you don't pray. The intention, the real intention of praying is to bring healing, is to bring comfort, is to bring peace. So when it comes to the healing part of the Akashic Records, you are also using that energy to bring goodness into someone's life. Now, whether they accept it or not is completely up to them, and you end up noticing the changes that they go through. I have clients that ask me to heal family members or someone that they know that might not afford the healing session, but they want to do some form of charity work. And we end up helping them, and then we end up realizing that they're able to receive this and move forward. And then the day comes where we tell them that you've actually received this form of work, so it has helped you to move forward, okay? So when it comes to healing and changing your life, it's very important to understand that we are working here with your belief systems. We are working with your karmic debt, your karmic, when we say karmic debt, that means you have done something in a particular lifetime, and you're here to balance that out. Now, some people might see it as a form of punishment, but in the Akashic Records, there's no such thing as punishment, because it only sees it as a form of law where in the universe, where everything needs to get balanced again. Sometimes when there is an imbalance or something gets tilted more, let's say darkness gets stronger and light gets lighter. So it's all about trying to bring that into balance so that there is harmony in the world and in the universe and into somebody else, in someone's life. So when we are working with your belief systems, we are trying to access, and this is what we do in level 1, is we use a certain set of questions. There are actually 6 questions that I've come up with. And in these questions, you are able to understand what is the person actually thinking, what are they actually feeling, and based on that, we're able to heal and resolve the situation that they're in. Now, I'm going to share with you 3 of those questions, okay? And it would be worth for you to reflect on them by yourself and help you to understand yourself better. First of all, the first question that I would like you to reflect and ask is, which area of my life am I bothered in? Okay, so which area of my life am I bothered in? That means I'm unhappy in. Okay, so you might write work, you might write love life, you might write health, you might write friendship, family, whatever it is. Now, once you've decided what that area of life is, you need to now define what that is. I want you to write the sentences. How are you defining it? For example, let's say the question is around money. The area of life is around money. And you end up saying, I believe that I don't have enough money. I feel stuck in money. I feel that I'm not getting paid enough. So you end up having to write without any, let's say, limitations or without any sugarcoating of whatever it is that's coming into your mind. And you completely write down all those beliefs around that area of life. Then the second thing is, now this is still under the first category, the first question. The second thing is, I want you to define how you're feeling it. So I'm just going to share the questions and I'll give you an extra couple of minutes to reflect on, okay? I want you to define how you're feeling around this area of life. Do you feel happy, sad? I'm assuming you're not happy. That is why you're writing this as a problem. But really express it. I feel sad. I feel stupid. I feel angry. I feel tired. I feel exhausted. You might have multiple feelings that you wish to define it for. And then the third question is, which is a bit longer, is how do my parents, okay? So this is more or less what we share in the questions. How do my parents view this area of life? So now you're going to reflect back and remember and see how, when I'm saying remember, because it's more about how they were when you were a child. So did they have this same area as a problem? So if you wrote, let's say, for money, did your mother or your father have, or your caregiver had money issues? And what did they say? What are the words that they used? So this is very deep reflection work where it helps you to understand yourself of the main core beliefs that are revolving around your life. Now, I'm just going to give you just 5 minutes so that you answer all these, okay? And then I'm going to tell you what we do with this, and I'm going to give you a quick experience of how we remove that from your life and see what you end up feeling, okay? So I'm just going to mute myself and give you 5 minutes to write the answers of these 3 things. Okay, so I'm going to move forward. Some of you might be still writing, but keep in mind that these three questions, not two, sorry, will really help you every single time when you feel uncomfortable or stuck to keep on asking these three questions so that you can get to the bottom of the situation. And every time when you go into a healing experience, you will see that these answers are meant to change. Eventually, it needs to be completely eradicated. Now, what we do in an Akashic Records life scripting is we are working not only on your belief systems, but we are clearing from an ancestral point of view. That means we don't want you to repeat or imitate the things, the negative things that your parents, your grandparents, your uncles and aunts, cousins have all gone through. Because you see, we are prone to creating the same cycles over and over again. So, for example, if there has been a divorce in the family, if there has been a terminal illness in the family, we don't want to imitate those energies again within our lives. We have the tendency as human beings to absorb that, to have a loyalty towards it, subconsciously, of course, and to say that I want to go through that experience as well because, hey, I'm part of this family. And I've seen that many people are feeling stuck in their lives because they have this unconscious hidden loyalty to imitate one of their parents or both of their parents or their whole lineage. So if there has been any kind of suffering, they end up holding on to that and repeating that. Although if you really look at their life, they don't need to go through that difficult or horrible experiences as well. Of course, we're also working on a past life level. Now, this is very subjective. I do know that some people believe in it and some people don't. So I will just talk a little bit about it and give you my perspective on why past lives do matter in when we're clearing. So we see in the world of Akashic Records and in life scripting, we believe that the soul is definitely eternal, and the soul chooses to have multiple experiences every time it wants to experience different things, because this is how it can experience itself. So this is a spiritual notion. And you might think that why would a soul want to experience torture or suffering or death? Well, for the soul, this is basically something that is where the human experience comes in. It's part of the whole life, let's say, patterns that exist on planet Earth. So it's kind of like ticking the boxes. So, for example, 2 lifetimes, I'll go into a very terminal illness experience. To another couple of lifetimes, I'll go into heartbreak. Then a couple of lifetimes, I'll be a millionaire. So it goes into extreme varieties of that. Now, the problem is, it's not the experience itself, what each soul goes through, but it's about how it gets attached to that. And this is where I'm going to talk about the past life healing. It gets attached to that experience, that idea, that definition, that feeling that they went through, whether it's good or bad, positive or negative, and they hold on to that, and the memory of it gets passed on into a new incarnation. This is why there are so many unexplained fears, unexplained gravitation to places, to people, unexplained habits, where when you ask the person, they're like, no, I haven't had that in this lifetime, or I don't know anyone who's had it, but I feel it this way. So this is where, when all your logical explanations are out of the window and you have nothing else to rely it on, most probably this is where it goes under the category of past lives. And what we're trying to heal, obviously, we are not physically going back to a physical past life. We're not doing time traveling here. However, we're going towards the energy of it. And the energy is within the thought, within the feeling, and it can be within the physical body as what I call the cellular memory. So, sometimes I've seen people have, again, a repetitive, let's say, disease. And They treat it, it comes back again. So it turns into a chronic situation. Now, once you have identified it from a medical point of view and you've realized that there's no medical explanation or solution for it, this is worth addressing it from an energy point of view and from a past life point of view, that why am I even experiencing this? Am I attached to an old memory that is still repeating? Or am I feeling any kind of regret and I'm feeling any kind of lack that is still attached to my past life and I'm trying to compensate for it? It might sound a bit too complicated, but what I can say to simplify it for you is when you don't have an explained experience or explained feeling towards something, someone, or some place, and when you feel that you have understood at least these three questions, if you have very honestly written those down and identified what they are, and you've really done the work on that, and still nothing has been resolved, this is your opportunity to tap into the Akashic records of the past lives. Now, going back to how the Akashic records is also helping you to eliminate and reconstruct things, and we're going to go into manifestation as well, is we want to look at this is my question that I ask almost all my clients, is what is the value that you are feeling such a thing? Usually people don't get this question at the beginning. I'm going to repeat it and elaborate it for you. So let's say someone is saying, oh, I'm crying every day, or I'm sad every day, or I feel that this keeps on happening to me over and over again. Why me? Right? So if you have ever said any of those sentences, my question would be, you are saying these things and you obviously feel helpless or hopeless or both. So there must be some kind of benefit, some kind of value for you to experience this. This can be from the ego trying to sabotage itself, because the ego has that tendency, although it might sound crazy, but the ego has its tendency to bring itself down, because the creation and the dynamic of the ego is not transcended. This is why when people go on a spiritual awakening or they start to become more aware and conscious, their ego's impact and power starts to get lessened and lessened. And their soul and higher self plays more role into their lives. So their decisions, their attitudes, their way of thinking and feeling is more governed by the higher self and the soul rather than what the ego is doing. So there is a value that the ego finds in these negative sentences or in these negative emotions. Now, you might ask me, what is the value? For example, if I'm crying every day and I'm asking you to help me, why do you think that I don't want to feel this way? I don't want to cry every day. I don't want to be upset every day. How can I have value in that? Well, you are definitely not doing it on purpose and not consciously, but the subconscious, which is filled with the ego's belief systems and dynamics, and it's unique for every single one, it can end up having the belief, for example, that, oh, if I don't suffer, I might not be worthy of other things. And this might sound like a bizarre sentence. Or it can be a thought like, well, anyway, I'm not enough. So of course I'm going to feel upset and miserable. Or something like, nothing is ever really working out for me anyway, so this is my life, this is my destiny. Or some people might say, well, God wants it this way, and they end up blaming God for it. So this is where the unconscious value comes in. It's trying to keep on feeding and nurturing this thought, feeding and nurturing this belief. And in the Akashic Records, through the life scripting method, which I want to talk a little bit about how that works, is we work to eliminate that original thought, that original feeling, that original experience, so you don't end up adding value to it. It needs to come to a point. How do you know when you've healed the situation? I get this question a lot. How do you know when you've healed the situation? Not only after you get a physical outcome. In some cases, that takes a long period of time. So we can't wait for that long period of time to prove that what you've done has actually worked. It's more about how you feel still while you're in a current circumstance that is not the best that you still wanted it to be. So I'm going to say that again. You will end up feeling and thinking differently, although your reality still has not changed. So if you had a question or a belief around lack of money, you may still not have the amount that you want, but you are suddenly feeling hopeful and excited and active and have the clarity on what you want to do. You feel more, let's say, productive, and you end up feeling that, no, I can really do this. I believe that life is with me. And this is where the mindset changes, and then you get the physical result. In some very few cases, the result comes faster and before the feeling and the thought changes. So let's say someone suddenly gets a huge amount of money. They're like, oh my God, I worked on it and now I got money. They still didn't have time to adjust to the new thought and feeling. So it's never concrete what the result is going to be. But eventually the goal is for your thought to change, for your feeling to change, and for you to have a different outcome, a different reality. This is when you know in any healing experience that you've completed the cycle. When you know that you think differently, we're like, no, of course, that old self, oh, that's the old me. I don't think that way anymore. And when you feel differently, that's the old self. I don't cry every night. I don't feel the necessity of crying anymore. You're not suppressing. Remember, there's a difference. You're not suppressing. You're like, I just don't feel like it. I don't see the reason or benefit for me to feel that way. And then there is also the impact. That means the reaction, the reality changes. You're suddenly feeling so loved. You're surrounded by people who love you, and you end up experiencing what it is that you were hoping to experience in the first place. So when you are on the path of your shift and change, in life scripting, we end up using 4 different principles, and for every single person is different. Today, we're going to experience energy in this session, okay? Because the other one requires a longer period of time. The first one is energy. Let me talk about that, which is we deactivate and activate thoughts, emotions, karma, cords, attachments, hooks, entities, anything that you can think of. Any word that you have in your spiritual or healing vocabulary, we can extract, deactivate, or we can activate it. That means we want to bring it to the surface. How does this really work? If we want to put it in an analogy or in a storyline, it's kind of like, I heard this years ago from one of the great teachers that I had the privilege to learn from. Her name is Tamara Oviet, and she has a modality specifically called sacred activations. And she explained her modality, which is similar to what inspired me to create life scripting, is it's kind of like a computer, or you can think of it as a smartphone, and you add apps and you delete apps, okay? And this is what we mean by deactivating. So if you delete an app from your phone or from your laptop, you can't use it anymore. You can't even, the processing machine cannot function based on what you've deleted. And if you've added in it, then yes, it's there, but it can be dormant. It still needs to be used. And this is where when we activate something, so if someone comes and says, Maria, I don't feel loved. Okay, so we activate your feeling loved. As simple as that. It's not complicated. Now, the person says, so you're telling me I'm going to feel loved after you did this to me? How is that going to be possible? Well, remember, we've added the app, right? And now we want to keep on using that app. That new thought has been planted there. So there are numerous ways that we end up using it, whether it comes through using the power of words, which is we want to plant the seeds of certain words and affirmations in your energy, in your Akashic, in your subconscious, so that the mind starts to think about it over and over again. Have you had that experience where you've listened to a song maybe 2 or 3 times, and the next morning when you wake up, suddenly that song is stuck in your mind, You're like, why on earth am I singing this song? I just woke up. I have a million things I want to do. This is a pure example that when you indirectly or even directly plant a seed within your subconscious, then it just randomly starts to work. Okay, especially in those early hours when you wake up, where your mind is still starting to go into the right brain waves, which is the alert mode, like beta brain wave. So it starts to show you those things that that is in your software, or it is also in your hardware. You see, I've had experiences where I was incredibly depressed. I was incredibly sad years and years ago, and I would cry sleeping because eventually that's the only way that my mind will shut down, right? And this was years before I knew any of these things can help or exist. Now, what would happen is when you're asleep, at least the mind is relaxed, the body is relaxed, and it's not overthinking, right? But the moment I would wake up and open my eyes and look around, I'm like, oh my God, I'm back in my reality. And after a few moments, it can end up hitting me again because like, oh, nothing has really changed. So what happens is that software and hardware are just flashing open again and are active. So this is why when we do any kind of healing work with life scripting, I do advise individuals to read certain things before they sleep at night, because that's, for me, that's more crucial than what they read in the morning when they wake up. Because when you're trying to sleep, that's the last thing that you're going to read, not focusing on your phone. You're going to be able to absorb that. And if you do that over and over again, then suddenly when you wake up, you're naturally thinking that way, although you're not putting an effort to think the way that you're hoping to feel. So when we do the activations and deactivations, it will take time for every individual in their own speed of how fast it works for them. For some people, it works immediately. For some people, it takes time. For some people, they need to do it again and again until it's really anchored. Now, the breath that we use in life scripting, in the Akashic Records, this is the only modality that you breathe in a dimension. So you see, the breath work is very much physical. So you have different forms of breath work, starting from pranayama, the ancient yogic practices, to the most recent modality of breath work that exists in the market. You see, all of them have something similar, which is about having the body to feel what the breath is doing. The body is going into a different chemical physiological experience because the breath has that power to shift. Many people are within this dimension on Earth, focused on the body, and they are working towards the breath. Now, in life scripting, we take the person's energy and subconscious into the Akashic Records, and in other levels, we take them into a higher field, which I call the eye of God, a higher frequency, and we breathe in that dimension. Now, when you do that, this is where, let's say, the magic happens, because you are at a different frequency rate. Your healing ability is magnified super, super fast, and it's multiplied in its effect. So that is why many people, after doing a life scripting breathwork, they might suddenly feel very low. This is not going to sound like great marketing, but the truth is, what's happening is they have purged so much that they are no longer holding and suppressing those emotions. So it suddenly starts to blurt out. And they feel like, oh, now I'm in a nonstop moment of a detox experience. Because it's very similar to when you eat something that's unhealthy for you or it's poisonous, your body will start to eliminate it. This is what happens when you're doing breath work in those dimensions. Your soul is involved, the energy of your breath is involved, and your body is trying to adjust to the new person that you're supposed to be. So this is not controlled breathing. This is not an exercise that you do as a breathing, and this is not a meditation. This is pure purging experience, and it goes at the rhythm, at the speed that your body can handle. So there's no one rhythm or speed that works for everyone. So, and every single time when you go through that experience, you end up going faster, you end up going slower, and you start to feel, which is called a liberation in the breath. You suddenly feel lighter while you're doing it. And there is this automatic response that your body does through it. If you don't experience it, everything that I'm sharing is going to be understood mildly, not much. Now, the third thing that we emphasize in life scripting is intuition. You must involve intuition in everything that you do. Why? Because your left brain, which is your analytical mind, is very limited, and it's processed with everything that you have learned, you've heard, and you've believed. So you can go to the best universities and study the best information that is stored in the left brain, different parts of the brain as well, to process that information. But whatever you've only learned is being able to put out there. Now, what does intuition do? Things that you haven't learned comes through. Things that you haven't analyzed comes through. And this is where it can be a shock for many people, which is why they can end up indirectly avoiding to work on their intuition because they're afraid. They don't know what to expect. They don't know what to feel. They don't know what to see. They don't know what to hear. Now, to help individuals on this, we gradually do different forms of healing in the Akashic to help them open up their intuition. Over the years, when I've done level 1, 2, and 3, what I've noticed is those who come to level 1 training, easily, I would say 5 out of 10 or 6 out of 10 would say, I'm not intuitive. I don't think I'm going to see or feel anything. And on day 2, if we're doing a 2-day training, we're going to have another one, which is 4-day training, split into 2 weekends coming this May. What happens is they suddenly realize, oh, I'm being able to pick up information. I'm being able to see things. Is my mind making this up? Famous question. Is my mind making this up? Now, your mind can't make things up when it's in a different energy frequency. And this is where we are using the Akashic Records. I'm not just saying close your eyes and tell me what you're seeing. Because if I just say that, you're still here on Earth. You're still functioning with a beta brainwave. But when I'm taking you up, and remember, this is not hypnosis, I need to emphasize that. This is through an energy frequency change. And the more sensitive you are, you pick that up. You feel it. You suddenly see that, oh, I feel different. And you know what's the biggest indicator that people tell me? Is that they think that they're lying down and just listening to me tell them stuff, feeling like a meditation. But the moment I tell them to come back down, many of them either feel a pull, they're like suddenly like, okay, I suddenly felt something on my feet, or I suddenly felt that I'm back and alert and awake. This is their indication to realize that they were actually not in the room. Yes, they can hear me. Yes, they can function. But without even putting them into hypnosis, they're at a different vibration. And another common thing that happens is they don't know how to define time. I tell them, how long do you think that was? And they always give me a shorter period. It's very, very, very rare for someone to give me the right amount of time. And I can already guess that within the session because I can see the person is fully alert and wants to be in full control. This is a problem with people who have controlling habits. They don't trust the process. Again, it's a very small minority of individuals, but that can also be overcome. So going back to intuition, I've seen that from level 1 towards level 3, by the end of level 3, people start to become students. They start to feel things. They start to know things. They pick up information before I've shared it with them in class. They're like, oh, I was going to ask you that. Or I knew you were going to say that. And suddenly they have like these antennas open, and everyone has their own unique abilities shine. Some people will start to have vivid dreams, and that's their sign. Some people are becoming more clairaudient. That means they're able to hear an information. Some people are becoming more clairvoyant. So they're being able to see. They're like, oh, I can see a color there. Or they're closing their eyes and they can see a vision of what may happen in the future, a possibility. Remember, intuition is about showing you possibilities. Nothing is 100,000,000% set in stone. We always have at least 10% to make changes, okay? It's very rare that things that have been very much concrete, we put out there, if it's really going to add value, that's my favorite word, it's really going to add value to your experience, it will still stay there. And we might just be able to tweak it a little bit, but not eliminate it. So intuition, guys, is not really about sitting and tapping your third eye continuously every single day. There are various things that I do, and you can just see things that I share on my Instagram. You can read the Akashic Records horoscope and find out if it's resonating with you. And if you start to realize that this is making sense, you can also be on the path of becoming more intuitive. Just be open for it and don't let fears. And of course, we need to clear if there are any past life fears that have been put on you in the Akashic Record, so we open up your intuition. The 4 principles, before we go into a quick experience of the Akashic today, the 4 principle is the power of words. This is very simply affirmations. However, please don't take this lightly. This is not another affirmation book or an affirmation course. This is about really understanding how the language of your mind works. So you learn how your mind is really thinking, so you know how to reverse that. You can't just keep going around and saying positive sentences when it's not going to sink into your subconscious. So I've had many people come to me over the years and tell me, Maria, I've written affirmations and it's not changing. Well, of course it's not, because first of all, you haven't even said the right affirmations. Number 2, you haven't understood what is the complete opposite that is there in your mind that is really blocking it. So a deeper belief or a deeper emotion. Plus, you haven't even dealt with the karmic side of it to get rid of it. So if you've made, let's say, a soul vow to, in this lifetime, I am happy to stay poor, and that would be your vow, and then you're going around complaining why you're not making more money, then you can say all these beautiful affirmations, but it might take you 5 to 10 years, if not more, to really be able to gain that momentum. So we have to clear it on a karmic level through your Akashic, using either energy, using either breath, involving our intuition, and then we need to script it in your Akashic blueprint. The blueprint is where your soul's energy is, who you want to be, how you want to be. The more you script in your Akashic Records, the more you're being able to manifest and consciously create. This is how I've done most of my life. This is how I've ended up creating. I continuously and daily work with my Akashic Records. And this is just a small part of what life scripting can do for you, because Akashic Records is just one of the dimensions that we're working in. However, it's one of the major ones because it's where you have made all your promises, all your vows. This is where your cords are stuck. This is where your soulmate is, and you've decided who to be with, who not to be with, who your soul family is, all the lessons that you've decided to learn, all the good things that you want to create and manifest. We need to work around that while we are in the Akashic Records for you. So you've written down at the very beginning those 3 things that are bothering you. What I'm going to do for you is I want to take you up to the Akashic Records, and I definitely need all of you to uncross your legs when you're doing this, because we want the energy to flow properly. Depending on your level of sensitivity, you might feel this strong or you might feel it weak. Don't just underestimate that I'm speaking. I'm commanding the energy of how it to be done. I can do this completely silently, but then it's going to be awkward, which is why in live scripting, we say everything that we are doing. I'm going to take you up to the Akashic Records, and I'm going to take you in one of the chambers that I teach, which is called the healing chamber, because we want to do some healing work. And in this healing chamber, we are going to deactivate. These are the words. We're going to deactivate what you've written down. You know what you've written down. You don't need to tell me. You've written down what is bothering you and which area of life is bothering you. So we're going to deactivate that issue. Then we want to deactivate the feelings that you have around it. So are you feeling stuck, unhappy, sad, upset? And then the third thing is we want to deactivate what you have absorbed karmically from your parents, from your caregivers, and from your ancestors. Because sometimes it might not be even yours. You're just living their life without you knowing. And once we're done, so it's only going to be deactivation. So we're only clearing. And by us clearing it, we are opening up the way for you to get more clarity in the next few days, for you to start to feel lighter, for you to start to feel that, wait a minute, I now know what I want and I'm ready and I understand it better. And also for some of you, you might end up feeling, I can now realize more things that I need to clear, because it's kind of like a domino effect. It starts to open things up for you. And once we're done, I'm going to ground you. I want to see how you feel with the grounding experience. Okay. So please, if you can just lie down, or even if you are sitting, then make sure that your feet are firmly touching the ground and it's not cross-legged. If you're on the bed, then just keep your legs straight on the bed. Okay. And put your hands on the side, palms facing upwards. So we need to create that receptive mode. This is very important. All right. So everyone, I would like you to please close your eyes and take 3 deep breaths through the nose. Bring your gentle focus towards your heart. And allow yourself to see and feel a beautiful golden light fully radiating out of your heart. Covering every cell of your body. And all your energy bodies. You are now in a deep golden ball of light. Gently start floating, leaving the space that you're in now. Leaving the city and planet Earth. I'm going to count from 5 to 1. When I say 1, you'll be deeply connected to your own Akashic Records. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. You are now fully connected to your Akashic Records. And you'll be gently guided to go to the healing chamber. Lie down on the healing bed, made of crystals and minerals and sacred symbols. Now, in that sacred space, we're going to deactivate the area of life that is bothering you, releasing all the blocks around that area of life. We're now going to deactivate all the feelings that are stuck within you, that is bringing you down and attached to this area of life. Going to deactivate the feeling from your subconscious mind. Deactivating it from your cells. And deactivating it from your DNA. We're now going to deactivate all the blocks that are coming from your mother's side, from the maternal lineage. Deactivating now the blocks from your father's side, the paternal side. Now we're going to gently take you back down to Mother Earth, allowing these deactivations to work at its own pace for you. Gently taking you down to the heart center of the earth. Bring your focus towards your feet and create deep golden roots. And let's bring those energies up now from your feet towards your knees, the base of your spine, towards your heart, towards your throat, and towards the bottom of your third eye. That's your pineal gland. And towards the top of your head. Whenever you're ready, you can open your eyes. Thank you everyone for joining. If you've fallen asleep, that's also great. Please feel free to send me an email of your feelings and your feedback, and I'll get back to you in 24 hours. I'm just going to write my email in the chat box. And if you have any more questions, and if I can answer them, I'll be happy to do so. Wishing you a very lovely evening. Thank you so much, and see you soon.